Has USC just figured out how to stop the run? Lincoln Riley hasn't announced his next defensive coordinator yet, but that's not stopping USC from stocking up in the transfer portal. USC bolstered their defensive line room with a couple of additions. I'm going to tell you who they are on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. Welcome to Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, also your number one sports podcast network. So whether you're going to watch this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, it's always going to be free. This show will always appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by Rouet. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rouet.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time only. Rouet ready, feel present, feel confident, feel ready. We all know USC lost 3 games during the regular season at Illinois, at Notre Dame, at Oregon. We also know how they ended the season in the Alamo Bowl. I want to focus on those first 3 games because it became very evident where USC's problem was, at least defensively. It was stopping the run against teams that could run the ball. And USC needed to get that fixed during the offseason. Well, it looks like they're doing it. In those games that I mentioned, at Illinois, at Notre Dame, at Oregon, USC's run defense, they got a huge dose of humility. Not just humbled. They weren't just humbled. They were taught a lesson. And the lesson was pretty darn clear. If you want to stop the run, it starts up front and it starts in the middle. Well, USC went on a little bit of a mini binge Tuesday this week, and they added a few players to their transfer class. They literally added more experience and more Big Ten conference experience, which is really important. So let me just kind of bring you up to date. So far, USC has added Jontez Williams, considered the top cornerback prospect in the portal. They got a wide receiver in Terrell Anderson from North Carolina State. Defensive back, Carrington Pierce, Christian Pierce's younger brother. You got the linebacker from Washington, Devin Bryant. And then you got the latest pair here. These guys are from the big conference. They both play defensive line. I want to start in the middle with Michigan State defensive lineman, now Trojan, Alex Van Sumeren. Okay? You got to see him play at the Coliseum. Looked pretty good. I think he opened the eyes of the USC coaching staff. 6'3", 300-pounder, defensive tackle who started the final 24 games of his Sparty career, including this past season, as I mentioned, at the Coliseum against USC. He finished the 2025 season tied for 3rd on the team. Okay, he's a defensive tackle, plays in the middle. 3rd on the team with 52 tackles, 2 for loss, 1.5 sacks. Those are great numbers. And if you're somebody who plays a 3 technique or a 0 technique, in other words, defensive tackle or nose guard, and it's putting up those kind of numbers, tackling, it's usually in the run game. That's a good sign. When you see him, when you watch his film, you instantly get those Gavin Meyer vibes. Remember Gavin Meyer? Came to USC a couple of years ago? Similar type of player. Great against the run. Again, if you saw him play at the Coliseum this past season, he gave USC's offensive line all they can handle. There's some highlights out there. He was having fun with Alani Noah. He's having his way, I guess I should say. Not all the time, but again, when you're watching highlights, it gets cut up, so it's always going to show you at your best, I guess. So, good guy, Alex Van Susteren. You're going to like him. I asked my buddy Matt Sheehan over there at Locked On Spartans for a couple of his thoughts on Alex. This is what he got back to me with. Happy to see him laying in a great spot. He's given it his all here. Alex came in as the top kid from Michigan but had 2 big leg injuries immediately, and that sent him back his first 2 seasons. He got better and better as the season went along. He could have been even better if our edge guys weren't so bad that the other team didn't even need to double team them. Never really feel like he hit his ceiling here, half because of injury, and the other half is that the pass rush was an issue that we've had. So not sure if he's first team or all Big Ten good, but he will certainly be a welcome addition to a team like USC. End quote. Look, USC had some challenges getting to the quarterback from the edge position as well. Maybe all of a sudden now, everything's kind of getting lined up the right way. You're getting bigger inside. You're getting older, more experienced. You're returning guys like Cam Crawford and Braylon Shelby. And plus, you're bringing in really good guys in this in the recruiting class, starting with Luke Wafel. So we'll see. But Alex Van Susteren, this is a great addition. And if he can bring the same type of motor and energy that Gavin Meyer brought to USC in his 1 year, then I think USC found exactly what they needed. So now that USC has another veteran presence inside, and he's going to go along great with Jide Abasiri, who also is made for Big Ten play. I'm just his body style. But now you got guys inside. You got Jakeem Stewart, Floyd Boucard, young gun Cash Jacobson, and then you got, like I mentioned, you got the new guys coming in with the class of 2026. Jamion Winfield, Tom Tapui. They're going to get a chance to get acclimated now. They're not going to have to be pushed in unless they earn it. So Alex was the first defensive lineman that USC added. They weren't done. They added another guy, and he's coming from Penn State. Figure that, right? Lynn shows up as their defense coordinator. Guys start checking out. Not saying there's a coincidence. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not sure why he didn't want to play for Lynn, but whatever. Excuse me. Still got this head cold. So USC added, his name is Zariah Fisher. 6'3", 260-pound defensive end. He was a 4-star high school commit. He was part of the 2020 recruiting class for Penn State. Yeah, a while ago. Again, injuries cut short his part of his seasons at Penn State. Now, yes, that was multiple in 2022, and then he did not play at all in 2024. But he returned to start 11 games for Penn State in 2025. So he was second on the team with 30 quarterback pressures. Okay, it's a good sign. We need that. He finished with 19 tackles, 3.5 of those for a loss. He had 2 sacks. He also forced a fumble and had a pass breakup. I think this is a good fit. What he is old, experienced. Now, I'm pretty sure he was already able to obtain a medical waiver so he can play another year of college football. And if he has that, and I'm really counting on USC doing their homework this time so they don't have another situation similar to DJ Wingfield like they had last year. But assuming that he's got that medical waiver from the NCAA, he's going to be going into his 7th year of college football. Yes. You heard that correct. 7th year. So again, I hit up my buddy, Zach Sako from Locked On Nittany Lions. I wanted to get his thoughts on this. He said, Mark, this is a good addition for USC. Either a co-starter or a 2-deep guy at minimum. He's a weak side defensive end and is primarily a pass rusher. There was always optimism around Fisher as potentially a lead pass rusher. But his biggest issue is that he cannot stay healthy. He had multiple season-ending leg injuries. Came back this season, but was never quite 100%. Still made a decent impact when he was in the lineup, but ultimately not what was expected or promised by James Franklin. Okay, fair enough. I like the fact that, excuse me, he has a lot of experience in the college game. Okay. There's probably nothing he hasn't seen. And if we're just keeping it real, nothing wrong with having a 25-year-old going up against an 18-year-old. Just the way college athletics is, football, basketball. So if you can't beat them, join them. So those two guys, Alex Van Susteren, Rouet, did I say his name was? I apologize. My head is Rouet Fisher. Jeez. Yeah, I'm not feeling good. I apologize, Rouet. I will get your name memorized before spring camp. So they're going to be joining linebacker Devin Bryant from Washington. I mentioned you got Terrell Anderson, the wide receiver from North Carolina State. Jontez Williams, the cornerback from Iowa State. Carrington Pierce, secondary guy, Oklahoma State. Excuse me. Speaking of Terrell Anderson, I asked Grayson Boone from Locked On Wolfpack. I asked him to give me his thoughts on USC's newest wide receiver. He likes him a lot. He said Terrell was a very exciting player, despite many of us at North Carolina State feeling like we never got him involved enough in the offense. He was pumping out solid performances on merely 3 or 4 catches per game. He's very versatile as a wide receiver. He can play in the slot, can play outside, can be a deep ball threat. Really, he can do it all. Reliable hands, gets in and out of his breaks very smoothly, creates a lot of separation from defensive backs. It's easy to see why an offensive mind like Lincoln Riley would want him. On that same note, after Mekhi Lemon won the Biletnikoff, Terrell's interest in USC checks out as well as he's looking to be a more impactful target at a higher volume of usage. I wouldn't call him a burner, but he's more deceptively fast. Also, he took over our punt return duties around the midpoint of the season. I don't see any reason why he won't succeed with the Trojans. As I get more feedback on the others, I'll pass it along. But now that the portal is moving at a breakneck speed, this stuff's just going to keep coming fast and furious. I have a question as we go into the next segment. Think about this. What if Husan Longstreet now sees his opening in the transfer portal? He's saying, well, why would he see it today and not yesterday? I'm going to tell you why in the next segment. I got a couple of questions in the Locked On USC Mailbag that we'll tackle in the third segment. All that's coming up next. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game, every game of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. You can ride with the favorite team you think, the team that's going to control the matchup. You can take a shot on the underdog if you feel that an upset is coming, or you can try and build a parlay around the players and moments you think are going to decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, check this out. FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. Once again, thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen of the day. Once again, thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. This is a message for my everydayers who listen to Locked On USC on their favorite podcast platform. You already live USC every day, 365, right? 24/7. If you're already doing that, here's a chance for you to take it up a level. Go ad-free. You can join the Everydayers Club today, and you're going to get Locked On USC with no interruptions. You're going to get the members-only Discord access, plus you're going to get more than that, and you can get it all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. See the link in the show's description page for more information. Did any of you happen to notice, if you're hanging around social media on X, Washington's starting quarterback, Damon Williams, entered the transfer portal? Yeah. Good player. He's been the starter at Washington. This is really weird. As I'm recording this episode of Locked On USC, Husan Longstreet has still not re-signed. He hasn't put his name into the transfer portal yet either. However, with Williams leaving Seattle, would that be the opening for Husan to, just to kind of go up north, walk into the job, playing for a good coach, Jed Fish? Here's the thing. So Damon Williams, he had actually just signed a brand new deal with Washington. And some say it was in the $5 million range for 1 year. It's good money. And according to Pete Thamel, Damon Williams signed a deal to return to Washington last week. It will be interesting to see how this unfolds with that deal at Washington that's in place. Sources indicated to ESPN that the deal he signed was near the top of the market. So Damon basically didn't tell anybody on the team, not his coaches, teammates, nothing. He kind of just, I guess there was a memorial service going on, and everybody found out on social media that he's in the transfer portal. And not only is he in the transfer portal, he put a do not contact sign above his name, which typically means he already knows where he's going. There's a deal in place somewhere else. Most are assuming, and it's a good assumption, it's Lane Kiffin, LSU. Why are people assuming that? Because Lane Kiffin was recruiting him out of high school. And he has an opportunity to go to LSU, probably play for a championship sooner than he would at Washington. Don't know, but just throwing it out there. I think everyone knows that it would be in Husan's best interest to stay at USC, definitely. However, you got that life-changing money that's being dangled out there and a chance to start at your next stop. It's hard to turn that down. And that's just the way college football works right now, especially for quarterbacks. Go show out and put yourself on the open market again. Look, for all we know, Husan is going to stay in LA and let Coach Riley mentor him. Again, you never know nowadays, though. I was told by someone who knew, who would know, that he's planning on staying, but that was before the bowl game. With that said, again, I'm not going to be surprised if he leaves. And while this won't be the reason why he leaves, his dad has been very outspoken. He just said that Husan wants to contribute. He wants to be part of the process, part of the team that's trying to win a championship. He doesn't want to stand on the sideline holding a clipboard. So I guess the question that I raised, why was he not put in for a couple of series, or at the very least for a few plays in the bowl game? It was a meaningless game, right? Everyone understands that it's Maiava's job going into 2026, the same way everyone knew it was Miller Moss's job before he got replaced by Jaden in 2024. So, excuse me. Outside of winning 10 games and riding that momentum into the offseason, it was a meaningless game. And Coach Riley literally had a chance to get Husan involved. And oh, by the way, guess what? Washington visits the Coliseum this season. So, again, we're just kind of waiting to see whatever decision Husan is going to make. But this is a nice opportunity for him. I'm not trying to talk it into existence, but, if you're looking at the dominoes, you're thinking, all right, Washington's got an opening for a starter. Why not? So I'll keep you updated as that goes along. Before I end this segment, though, here's an update on the guys who have entered, USC guys who have entered the transfer portal. This is what's going on with them. So defensive lineman Carlon Jones, he's going to Arkansas. That's who he signed with. I remember running back Harry Dalton. Well, he's going back home, so to speak. He's signing with Maryland. He's from that DMV area, DC, Virginia, Maryland. Yeah, all that. Good fit for him. Oh, And Maryland also visits the Coliseum this year. So just kind of throwing that out there. Wide receiver Prince Strawn, who got paid very well to come to USC from Boise State. He's going to West Virginia. Okay. Good luck, Prince. Boise, USC, West Virginia. Okay. You got 2 offensive linemen now going to Purdue. I told you about Micah Banuelos. What about Makai Sena? Josh Henson getting the band back together, the guys he recruited. So we wish both of them good luck. And then he hasn't signed yet, but linebacker Matai Tagovailoa is taking a visit to Clemson. Okay. All right. We'll see if that happens. But hey, free trip, go check it out. I have a feeling he's going to probably stay closer to the West Coast. We'll see. We'll see. And then in other news, USC still does not have a defensive coordinator. They're bringing players in through the transfer portal at positions of need. I mentioned 2 of them, defensive tackle, defensive end, just a few minutes ago. Really hope they fit the scheme. We'll find out soon. All right, one more segment to go. I'm going to answer a couple of questions from the viewers and listeners. And I also have a very special message that someone sent me that I wanted to read. And I'll try not to get too emotional. It's coming up next. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. You got stress from work, money, life problems. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rouet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rouet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, you can feel confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rouet Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue and it absorbs incredibly fast. You're going to connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything ships discreetly right to your front door. And most men, you're going to be ready in about 15 minutes on average. So you can stay present, you can stay confident, and in control when the moment is right. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rougiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege. And you're going to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rouet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. All right, let me just get right into this because I'm having a hard time seeing right now. This one is from Josh Thomas. He sent me a message on X. Hey, Mark, Happy New Year. Got a couple of questions for you. Apparently, Lynn was caught talking to parents of recruits, and he was asked why the defense didn't take a big step forward in year 2. His response was, quote, "They aren't smart enough to learn my system, and I can't unload the full playbook because they're not smart enough to run my defense," end quote. Have you heard that rumor? Second question, any truth that only the first team guys ran the defensive reps and that the backups never did? All right, let me address that first part. I talk to parents a lot, okay? And they're valuable assets. But anytime I hear something from a parent, I take it with a giant grain of salt because they tend to hear what they want to hear, not what they actually heard. I have a difficult time thinking that Danton Lynn would tell somebody publicly, I got a bunch of stupid people on my team. I can't coach them up. They don't have a football IQ. Does that really make sense? Can you hear a defensive any coach? But let's talk about Danton Lynn and his personality. Sorry, I can't hear him saying it like that. Now, he might say something to the effect of, we've got some guys who are struggling picking up the defense, but that's a far cry from low IQ, not smart enough. And let me remind everybody what Danton Lynn said publicly when he took over USC. We're going to install things very slowly We're not going to give these players too much. Okay? We're not going to allow them to, we're not going to give them too much where they're not ready to go to the next, be able to absorb the next page of the playbook, so to speak. So again, there might be a shred of truth in there, a kernel of truth, but how it was conveyed, no, I don't. To answer your question, no, that's not what was said, not in that capacity. And then as far as backups not being able to actually run the defensive reps that the first team guys do, that would be malpractice. That would be malpractice, literally. Hi, you're my number 2, but you're not going to practice any of those reps. Seriously? Who believes that? So again, I'm sure there was something said to the effect of, you know what? The second and third stringers, they don't get as many reps as the first team guys running our defense. Something along that line. Again, I'm sure somebody thought they heard what they thought they heard. Again, I just don't see it happening. So hopefully that answers your questions. This next one's from Antonio Bearfield. Mark, with Jade Mayaba and Elijah Page returning next season, we have our cornerstone pieces. So my question is, with Coach Lincoln Riley going into year 5, and we're currently in search of a new defensive coordinator, are the expectations still the same with more pressure on him, or with a new DC, with a new defensive coordinator, does this buy him more time, not to mention the brutal schedule next season? No, it does not buy him more time. It just doesn't. You're going into year 5. You've got the pieces on the roster. If it's all about the Jimmies and Joes, you've got it. You're looking to improve the X's and O's. I understand the strength of schedule. Almost all of USC's hard games are at the Coliseum. They will be at Indiana. That's a tough roadie, especially if Kurt Signetti wins the national championship and they hit the transfer portal the way they are right now. It'll be a tough game. But all of their difficult games are at the Coliseum. Yes, they traveled to Happy Valley to play Penn State, and they also traveled to Wisconsin. I don't know how good Wisconsin or Penn State will be next year. With that being said, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Coliseum. So he does not get any extra time. The floor is 9 wins, period. 9 wins. And I'm starting to hear from people, from sources, that no, they're not going to give Lincoln Riley any more latitude. You can read into that what you will. I'll dive into that more at another time, but it does not give Lincoln Riley he doesn't get to go back on the calendar. I know a lot of fans like to say, well, this is really year 2, year 3. We're not playing that game. Not on this show. Okay. This next one, I'm not going to give his last name, but it's from another guy named Josh. Last name starts with the letter M like Mark. And he sent me this message right after New Year's, and it really it hit me in the feels. It started tugging on my heartstrings. Happy New Year, Mark. Firstly, you're welcome for the support. Your fans love you. This time last year, I was going through an extremely dark and difficult period at work, so much so that I was facing the possibility of being relieved of my duty and losing my sanity. During that time, your podcast and YouTube content genuinely helped keep me grounded. Listening to the discussions about the transfer portal moves, high school recruiting, the commitments, it gave me something positive to focus on. And it brought a sense of normalcy, and sanity when I needed it most. Once again, Mark, thank you for your program. It is far more impactful than you may realize, and it truly makes a difference in the lives of your fans. Fight on. Josh, like I said, you hit me in the feels with that one. That is probably the closest thing that I've seen, felt since I used to coach high school basketball. And I told this story before. I'll say it again real briefly here. I had a player on my team, wasn't a starter, sixth man, but he, you know what? I'm going to save it. No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to get it out. So sixth man, we lost the championship game. Free throws, my fault. Got a double technical. Didn't agree with the call from the referee. Anyway, I took the loss incredibly hard, extremely hard. Sitting at home, it's like 10:30 at night, watching the VHS tape in the VCR. Where could we done things differently? How could we have won the game? The phone rings. Coach, this is Ryan. I just wanted to call and let you know, because everyone in the locker room saw how difficult of a time you're having accepting this loss. We win as a team, we lose as a team. But personally, for me, I just want to let you know thank you. Some of the things you taught me as a player, I'm not just going to use on the basketball court. I'm going to use in life, and I'm ready to take that next step. Thank you. Yeah. Right there. So with that, Josh, thank you again. I hope you continue to go on that upward trajectory. And if I can be a part of that to help you, I've touched somebody's life. That's all I can do in this world. If I can touch somebody's life, I've done a lot. So thank you for those words. It means a lot. I will be back with another episode of Locked On USC tomorrow. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.